quiet place within my life. And I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
Good morning. Okay, here. Let's all just take a deep breath and realize that Spirit is all there is. Spirit is love and joy, beauty and abundance, prosperity, infinite intelligence, creative wisdom. Spirit is in and of all things. And as I recognize that, what Spirit is, I also recognize that that is what I am. I am an individualization of Spirit. And as I am an individualization of Spirit, each of us are that individualization. And Spirit expresses through us as us. And as Spirit expresses through us, it expresses its joy, its peace, its beauty, its love, its surrounding everything that we do with love and joy. And I just want to say a word of blessing for the Bradfords and their beautiful music and how it always hits our hearts and makes us feel great. And I also want to say a blessing for Reverend Karen and her second most best message. She always feeds our soul. She gives us our messages, our lessons that we can take with us throughout the week, that we can share with others, and it is truly a blessing. And I am just so grateful to be a part of this. I'm so grateful for all of us to be here. And I just want to release that into the law, knowing it is already done. And together we say, and so it is. Okay, so reading from the Science of Mind today. I only went through 3 books trying to figure out what I wanted to say. And this is from the Principles of Successful Living, page 273 in the
my favorite chapter.
Here we go. It kind of fits with what's going on in my life right now, too. People often... How do you read and do this at the same time?
You got this.
Thank you. People often say, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make a choice. We must realize that there is an intelligence within us that does know. This guidance is just as true in India, where people are Buddhist, as in America, where people are Christians, and just as true 10,000 years ago, before the advent of Christianity, as it will be 10,000 years hence. Insofar as we are going to make things work, it is because we contact universal laws, which run through every age and race, and which answers every person. If we can see this, we shall be able to do away with a great deal of superstition and ignorance. Let each individual immediately and directly and in his own integrity approach the law that is. There is no medium between us and the universal mind, except our own thought. In such degree as we place a medium, we have to absorb that medium before we can make a direct approach. The Bible says there's no mediator between God and man except Christ. Christ means the truth about ourselves. So, if we have to make a clear choice and feel we do not know which or what to choose, we must be still in our own consciousness and know that the Spirit within us knows which of these ways is the right and most constructive way and will guide us. When intelligence makes a demand upon itself, it answers its own demand out of its own nature and cannot help doing so. In philosophy, this idea is called emergent evolution. Whenever the universe makes a demand upon itself, out of that very demand is created a fulfillment. But that can only be when the demand is in the nature of the universe. So my shortcut to all of that is pause when doubtful or agitated. Because the creative mind always works through us when we can be silent, even if it's only for a short time. the right answers always come. The right choices always come. So let us ponder that. And so it is.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in a world of your creation. What we'll see will defy explanation. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and choose it. Anything you want to do it. Want to change the world with love, you'll do it. There is no life I know to compare with pure imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be.
My goodness, I loved that. Thank you. I heard you doing that when you were warming up, and it didn't hit me. You know, oh my goodness, you have no idea how perfect that is for the message I'm about to deliver. Thank you, Bradford. It's good to have you here. Good morning. Good morning. It's so lovely to see you. I was thinking, Reverend Clyde, while you were speaking, it doesn't even feel like a diminished audience. You know, it really is just so. I so align to what you said that it's so good just to have your energy here and your beautiful faces, even if you're wearing masks. I can see the truth of who you are, and I'm so happy to just be connecting with you in this way every Sunday. Good morning, everybody online. I love you too. Maybe I love you more. Don't know, but I'm really happy to be here. So, welcome to the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living, and yep, I'm Karen. I'm Reverend Karen, and I'm revved up today because I've had a fun week. I think some of what's fun right now is that last weekend was the annual business meeting, and we did that so well. There was a lot of stress in trying to figure out how to do that in conditions where we're limited to how many people we can have in the building, and still to have a quorum, and how you figure that out in that virtual way. And we're really, really blessed to have Sue Witter as a part of our, actually we welcomed her onto the board last week, didn't we? But she comes from a corporate world where they've been doing that for the last several months, and she was able to give us all the legal requirements and how we could still work that out. And so I just think I'm still kind of sailing on a little bit of that afterglow, because we were so successful, and thank you for agreeing with me in pulling that all off, and thank you to everybody that worked so hard to make that happen. The title of my message today is The Law of Choice, and at the 11th hour I went, I didn't want to talk about that. I've been talking about all of that. We've been talking about it in such intensity, because it's so useful for us to remember we're not victims through this past year. And so I put a little twist on it, and I want to talk to you today about the law of choice in terms of our ability to choose love. So it'll be a little bit different than perhaps what we thought we might be doing. And yet, still, I noticed the stars aligned, and the divine gave the right music and the great reading, and I do love that chapter in the book, and I I had not really made the connection that one of the reasons I currently speak from that chapter a lot is because of that idea of emergent evolution. And you know, if you know me, you've probably heard me say this, I believe we are experiencing a theology of emergence and sort of learning to figure out some new things in our ability to recognize the hand of God still in all of it, that infinite intelligence of all the universe that we call love and law is favorable in providing everything we need to even move through our challenges. And that's what I want to speak to today. The quote that I was inspired by and will share with you now comes from Dr. Ernest Holmes, who is, by the way, if you're new to Science of Mind, the founder of the teaching, and we are a part of this greater idea of new thought, and we love being open at the top and standing on a methodology that has such great substance, don't we? So Holmes said these words, and by the way, I did use this quote last week, but I think I only used it in the presentation I gave to at the business meeting. And so the Sunday service is a much larger audience than that, so I wanted to repeat it again because it's so good. Holmes said this, it simmers down to this. Can we, in the midst of negative conditions, accept a greater good? It's a really wonderful question. It's a really important thing to consider and to reconsider. And then he goes on to say, if we can do that, if we can, in the midst of negative conditions, accept a greater good, even expect greater good, then we shall be complying with the law of life. We shall be giving life a chance to work for us. Those are important words. I love that he takes that idea of if we can align ourselves to good no matter what we're going through, if we, in other words, just remember that, yes, we have to move through our experiences, but remember that they come to pass. And they come to, when he's speaking about emergent evolution, Holmes talks about the way that one experience gives us a higher ground for the next experience, and that our life then is a way that we are living in this cycle of a spiral, an upward bound spiral of life that just like a funnel gets bigger and bigger at the top, and that's why we can invite more and more good into our lives, no matter what's going on. So how amazing that he would say, if you can do that, if you can imagine greater good, no matter how much good you've already got, if we can imagine even greater good, we are complying with a law of life that desires to give us that experience of goodness. He said, you will be giving life a chance to work for you. And you know what? I love that. It's because he's saying something really relevant here, that life is here to work for us, not against us. And that's the theme that I want to deliver in the words that I share today. This is a way we can look at the idea of giving love a chance to work for us and through us, and thereby be on the planet in a more vibrant way and identifiable way. And I think that one of the greatest things that I personally have ever learned from this teaching and from A Course in Miracles, which was my grounding before I found religious science, the greatest thing I think that I learned is exactly that life is on my side. That we live in a universe where everything is running in perfect order, and that if we observe nature, we see that upsets happen, but that she just gets on with things, right? She knows how to recover, and so do we. We have that same instinct, that same intelligence. We just sometimes hang on to the problem a little bit longer than we need to. So when we begin to consciously look at some of these ideas, I think, and this is a theme that comes from the Course in Miracles, it's like we begin to realize how upside down we've been living our life. We've been living, in this place where sometimes life just feels hard, and things come and it doesn't feel like life is for us. In fact, in this past year, our experience of life has been more limited, and it hasn't felt like life is safe or friendly. And so I love having this opportunity for us to have a conversation so I can tell you that sometimes we just have to be aware that our thinking is currently upside down, and we might benefit from reversing that, the consciousness of our position in relationship to our life and our experiences and the people in our lives. So I have a personal experience that happened a couple days ago that brought this to my immediate attention. I had an opportunity to do a big presentation of this material. I was invited to do a presentation in Scottsdale yesterday. Actually, it was just yesterday. Wow, how could that be? And so by Friday, I was really wrapping up the work of putting it all together. I had been working on it all week long, and I'm just about ready to put the cherry on the cake, and I had been up since way before the sun came up, and now it's about noon, and my husband's up and moving about, and I thought, I really need a break, and I'm going to make him a nice lunch. It'll get me out of this office space, get me into the kitchen where I like to be creative, and I'm going to make him a good lunch. So I really got into it, and I got something cooking on the stove in a frying pan, and then I needed something out of the pantry, and as I grabbed to pull out what I needed from the pantry, from a shelf from about my eye level, I accidentally also pulled out a full jar of Thai curry sauce. It was bright yellow and landed in front of me on my tile floor, and so it was loud. I probably reacted. I really have no memory of what I said or did, but the glass hit and went everywhere, and the Thai curry sauce did too. And I was not happy, and now I'm barefoot, I'm covered in Thai curry sauce, I've got glass all around me, and something's cooking in the frying pan, and I can't get to it, and I've made all this, I'm trying to make him a nice lunch, and my husband in the other room hollers, and he says, "What happened? Are you okay? Do you need help?" And I said, "Yes, bring me shoes. I'm barefoot and there's glass everywhere." And he went, "What?" And then I realized he wasn't going to hear me. And he probably also wasn't going to get out of the chair. He was going to wait till I came to him to tell him what happened. And immediately, I realized it was his fault that I dropped the Thai curry sauce. Isn't that funny how life goes? It was his fault. I was cooking his breakfast.
He must have put it there.
And then he said, "Can I help?" And I went, "Yes." And he went, "What?" And now I'm trapped in the kitchen, and his lunch is not drying out. And so I was, let me just say, I was angry. I really wanted to say pissed off, but I wouldn't do that. So I found my way out of the glass, right? I worked my way. I was close to the sliding glass door that goes to the patio, and worked my way out to there, and I just took my Thai curry pajamas off, and I left them out there, and then I came in, and I walked a safe path, and I went into, and I was so angry, and I walked in there, and I went, "I said, yes, bring me shoes." And he went, "Oh, honey," and he's being all nice, of course, and all I can think of is like, oh, this is such a mess, and I've got to get to the stove, and so I put on my shoes, and I go back, and I turn the stove off, and then my phone rang. It was Reverend Clyde. My phone didn't ring all day long before or after that, but he called, and he went, "What are you doing?" I have something fun to tell you. And I went, "I'm not in a good mood. I'm not happy here. I have Thai curry all over the house." And I look as I'm talking to him on the phone, and now I'm looking at this mess that I'm going to have to contend with. And I look down, and the Thai curry dropped here and shot out 8 feet that way till it covered the kitchen, the cupboard doors 8 feet away from the pantry. And not only that, but there was this chunk of Thai curry on the top of the cupboard door that was dripping down the inside and the outside of the cupboard. So I'm not sure how the phone call actually ended, but the grace of all that was that I said to Reverend Clyde, I said, I don't remember what we said, but I said, yeah, I'm not in a good mood. It's like, I'm so mad. It's Hugh's fault that I broke that Thai curry sauce, and I was kind of being funny, but he laughed so hard that the love in his laughter and the fact that he could love me even when I'm being crabby, you know, that love softened something in me. I still did not enjoy cleaning up that mess. I will admit that to you. But here's the deal. Sometimes life throws a little something at us, or we experience a little something that perhaps we had a little more, perhaps I could have made other decisions about where I kept the Thai curry sauce. But what I realize is that there I am standing covered in yellow. It actually looked like a baby's diaper. It was not good. It smelled pretty nice, though. And so there I am, and then there seems to be danger around me. I don't want to step in glass. And what I can realize when I have a moment of calming myself down was lovely. Your timing probably was very lovely, Reverend Clyde. Thank you. But that God had not taken away my power of choice, or life had not limited my power of choice. And in fact, the same amount of love that I had in my heart before I made the mess was still present, right? Nothing diminishes the presence of God's love. We can become unaware of it when we are startled or sidetracked. But that love is still there. Right? That order is still there. Now, it would be really, I have to say this, that I didn't feel like I was in choice when I was cleaning up the mess, right? It was like, well, who's going to do it if I don't do it? You know, there's some of that happens. But notice when we linger in that attitude, or worse yet, we promote it, we are moving ourselves further and further away from that sense of good and that sense of managing our lives successfully. But things happen. We drop things in the kitchen, and we bump into things, or sometimes gravity wins and we take a little fall, and things happen. And what I really wanted to emphasize today was how sweet it is for us to pause. Thank you for that, Kathy. To just pause sometimes and to appreciate all the things that are going good in our lives. So here's what I thought. I played with this idea. There are just so many things that we take for granted. So if you are viewing this broadcast from the comfort of your home, then how blessed we are to have electronic devices in our lives to help us do that. If you are viewing from home or sitting here in the sanctuary, it is highly probable that you had an opportunity to sleep in a bed last night, and that you were in I see somebody shaking their head like, no. Well, hang on. I'm going to get you there. Stay with me here. We sleep in beds, and we have the comfort of blankets, and we have I heard it was going to get down to the low 40s last night, and for here, that's really chilly for us. And we're in a home, then we don't experience that harsh, and we have blankets, right? We have these comfortable things. We not only have a pillow, most of us probably have a couple or more pillows on our bed to help us feel comfortable at night. I'm not going to make eye contact with you guys over there that didn't sleep in a bed last night. Oh, okay, all right. So it was a slumber party. They were just, okay, got it. Somebody had to sleep on the floor or that blow-up mattress, and yeah, I get it. So there's all this goodness in our lives, and when we wake up, you know, at some point in the morning, we walk over and we turn on a light switch, and voila, then we have better vision. We can see better, And we have this comfort of having the light on when we desire to have the light on, but we rarely stop to think, when we flip that light switch on in the morning, we rarely stop to think that a few somebodies stayed up all night last night at the power plant making sure that that electricity was flowing into our homes. You know, if we look at the way life is orchestrated in this much larger way, we begin to see that we have all kinds of luxuries. I mean, here's one that went through my mind yesterday when I was writing this message. Do you ever stop to think who built the home you live in? I mean, unless you built it yourself. Oh, you might. Did you build your home?
We were involved.
Okay. All right. So you know the answer to these questions, but I have never really. I don't often pause and think about, wow, do you realize it took a team of people to build my house and the structure that you live in as well? It took a team of people that had to coordinate together. Somebody had an idea and somebody else drew a plan, and then somebody coordinates getting all the supplies, and then they use all their skills together. They don't even know each other. Sometimes they don't even see each other, and they create a home of substance that we can live in. Now, for me, and maybe this relates a little bit to Rod, but my dad was a plasterer. And so he and all his brothers and my grandpa were plasterers in the 50s and the 60s. And so my dad was responsible for plastering probably thousands of tract homes in Southern California. And I watched that process. They plastered homes. They had on the back of their trucks, they had these big signs that said, "Genuine lath and plaster, knock on the wall." I remember that so vividly. But Daddy would plaster hospitals and churches, and there was a church in Azusa, California, that my dad and his brothers were called to do the plastering work of that building. And it was built to look sort of like it was a large church. It was St. Francis of Rome. And it was similar in style to the cathedrals in Europe. And so I remember that we would go there often. Our Sunday afternoon drive would be Daddy taking us out to a job somewhere and showing us what project he was working on at that time. So for me, there's some connection there. It's like, somebody had their hands in this case, it was like mud. You know, they were putting the mud on the walls. And I remember my mom being frightened when she saw it, and she said to Daddy, like, "Did you have to be on scaffolding to be," and he went, "Yeah," you know. And so it's impressive to think that people give of their lives and give of their skills, their gifts, so that we have these things that we almost never even think about. And so there's, really, indoor plumbing, good thing, right? We like that we have running water in our house, and we like that we have, think about the products. Just in your bathroom, we have soap, and we have shampoos, and we have Band-Aids for when you break glass on the floor and need it. And we have, all kinds of products and things, and a medicine cabinet full of all kinds of other stuff. And then, we won't even go into the kitchen. Be still, my heart. Like, think of what we have that other people have never had. Other generations. And so we don't even think of our bathroom as a luxury, and yet it's a tremendous luxury. We used to have remember Doris? Doris had this beautiful story. She used to say she grew up in Iowa or somewhere, I think it's Iowa, and that she has a beautiful story of how her father would be the guy to take her to the outhouse in the middle of the night, and he would sit on the seat to warm it up for her before she used the outhouse. And so, there are a lot of things we take for granted. And all the while we're living our life and just doing our stuff and working through the tasks that we have to work through at any given day, there are trillions of things happening in the universe that keep us happy, that keep us healthy, that keep us alive, that we really don't we don't do any of that. There are just these instincts, right? There's this intelligence, even in our physical being. We don't have to think about it. Plants are growing, and rivers are flowing, and clouds are blowing, and animals and birds and reptiles are all doing the thing that they came to this planet to do. And here's the best part. Here's the best part. It is 10:37-ish, I'm going to say, according to that clock on the wall, which means I'm doing really good time-wise. I'm just going to throw that in. By 10:37-ish, some of us have been awake for a few hours already. Not my beloved. I'm confident at 10:37 he's still sleeping. But he'll hear this later. He'll hear me talking about him again. And won't that be fun? I love you, honey. Julie loves it when I do that. She always thinks I'm saying I love you to her. So by 10:45 in the morning, 10:37-ish, at least 100 wonderful things have already gone right in your life. You have already experienced good beyond ways you can even imagine, because that's how generous life is in just doing its thing. And still, even a tiny deviation, you ran out of coffee filters. You're not going to have your morning coffee. You know, that's pretty frustrating, right? The thing you wanted to wear that morning is in the dirty clothes hamper, and you didn't realize that. Those things can upset us. And now, here's where it gets complex, is if 2 or 3 or 4 of those things all happen, bam, 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 suddenly it feels like the world is against you. Right? We have this instinct to just forget everything we know, and then here's the really funny part for me. Then it's like, is Mars in retrograde? You know, oh, it's a full moon. It's a full, and we look for things to blame it on. We're so interesting. The fact is, the vast majority of everything in life is working for you. Life works for us with this breathtaking consistency, with this regularity, with this ongoingness that's pretty incredible. I bought this book a couple years ago. It's a big book. The only reason I brought it was so that you could see it's a big book. It's 560-some pages, and I probably won't read it ever cover to cover, but I bought it because it's a really fabulous opportunity to rethink some of the ordinary things that we sort of start believing and we don't know it's not all real. The book is called Enlightenment Now, A Case for Reason, Science, Humanism, and Progress, and it's by Steven Pinker. And Steven Pinker is a cognitive scientist and a researcher, and he wrote this book. And this book is absolutely full of graphs and charts and studies that suggest to us that life is for us, that there are good things happening in the world even as we are experiencing difficult things. So this is a book that I picked up last summer and began to thumb through to remind myself, because last summer we weren't even meeting in here yet. We didn't open our sanctuary until November. And so I needed to remember that life is also good. Yes, there are reasons to grieve, and there are things to worry about, and we want to be attentive to our own well-being and having a good, strong immune system. And the one thing that Steven Pinker says that really speaks to me personally is that we need to step away from prophecies of doom and gloom, because when we are worried about all the prophetic things we have worried about this year, actually, he said this: we are more likely to strengthen our biases that separate us. And we have seen that. We have experienced that this past year. So there are dozens and dozens of graphs and charts and things in that book that show us that life and health and our well-being, our safety, our peace of mind, knowledge, even our happiness, all of these things are rising. And he uses the term human flourishing, which I think is beautiful. And he does not say that to suggest that everything's okay. He's very honest. A couple months ago, I think, I wrote a blog about it, and I shared some of his ideas that this is all true, and at the same time, we still have a lot to work on. We still have a lot of things we want to put our attention on. So I wanted to tie in this morning a little bit of my favorite New Thought musician, Michael Gott. And Michael Gott wrote a song that I happened to stumble across again in my life just this week. One of my favorite albums of Michael Gott's is Surrender. Do you have that album, Reverend Clyde? What a gorgeous album that is. And the first song on that album is called Surrender. And it's a Michael Gott original. And let me read you the words from the chorus. It's so exquisite in this way of making sure we're paying attention to using the law and choosing love. Michael Gott said this, or he sang this. I am a child of the living God. I am a child of the living God. Think about it. I love that term, the living God, because now I don't see an entity away from me in the sky somewhere. But the living God is that intelligence in all of life that I've been talking about this morning. And that way there is order in the universe. If we pay attention to it, we notice it, we become conscious of it, and we align ourselves to it. And that's the stirring of God's sweet love at the core of our being. So I am a child of the living God, made in the image of perfect love. All that I am and all that I've been given to you, my God, I surrender. Now, hear what he's saying here, because this is a gorgeous, beautiful acknowledgement. This is an expression of deep gratitude in that recognition that there is a force for good on in this universe. It is the creator of all of life. It created us. It is more powerful than we are, and we can use it. And we often say the greatest force in the universe is love. So I surrender. When he says to you, my God, I surrender, we are surrendering into love. We are surrendering into that way. We are ready to receive that goodness of which the universe is ready to bless us with. I want you to hear that song. It's quite short. Norman, are you queued up? Let's hear Michael Gott, Surrender.
Child of the living God, made in
often wonder why it's so complicated for us to realize how amazing we are. We are tempted to play that humble game. Oh, I'm not worthy. I want you to hear the opposite of that opening up and recognizing that you're not only worthy, you're holy. You're made in the image and likeness of that love, the love that you can feel when you listen to music that has been created from that divine inspiration. There's a passage from the Course in Miracles that I have paraphrased for so many years that I'm not sure what the original wording is anymore, but it says, "Oh, child of God, when will you learn how precious you already are? Surrender. Admit it. Surrender into your magnificence." That is one of the Centers for Spiritual Living themes for us as we are moving through life, that we want to be transformed into that place where we recognize our spiritual magnificence. And so Dr. Holmes spoke about the way that our desires are divine calls, right? If there's anything you desire to experience differently in this life that you're living, then, or something you may not have, or a relationship that you would like to be different, no matter what it is, all of it is there. And this is what Holmes says about it. He says that desire is a mental echo of the mind of spirit within you. It is spirit seeking an avenue of expression through you. That's a gorgeous quote, and that quote comes from the book, This Thing Called You. And that little book is a favorite of a lot of ministers and practitioners and people who have been around and teaching for a long time. And I was thinking while I was putting this material together that the reason it's a favorite of ours is because, think about it, this thing called you. It's about us. It's about our divinity. And so it's been a tough year, and we have all been impacted by loss or limitation of some sort because our lives have changed. And sometimes when I notice people in my life that I love who seem to be struggling, maybe more than I do, then I notice that my response to that is I don't feel right being grateful for the good that I'm blessed with. You know, those are times I don't count my blessings. And what I want to say is those are the times we need to count our blessings. Because the more we can acknowledge, the more we embody the truth and feel that love and the reality of our spiritual magnificence, then the more love there is on the planet. It can only come through us. So be grateful. Be grateful. I think that gratitude may be one of the most important spiritual practices we could give our attention to, because a truly grateful heart can only come from love. Love, gratitude will ground you faster than anything else, even if you just spilled Thai curry sauce all over your kitchen. So I want to end with this quote. I found an old favorite of mine. It comes from a woman named Merle Shane, and she wrote I think I read her in the 70s, and she wrote for women, and she did it so exquisitely, and I think was a big part of me transforming and growing up and embodying the truth of my being. And Merle Shane said this: "The world needs all of our power and all of our love and all of our energy, and each one of us has something to give. The trick is to find what's yours to give and to use it, to find a way to give away that love so that there will always be more." And then she says, "We can be lights for each other, and through each other's illumination, we will see the way. Each of us a seed, a silent promise, and it is always spring." Beautiful quote. So I want to anchor these ideas and the gorgeousness of this morning. I want to anchor all of that in prayer. So I invite you to get comfortable where you're seated. Just put your feet on the floor. And feeling the lingering of the beautiful song from Michael Gott, we move into this another beautiful movement from piano keys. We just allow them to carry us deep within. We return to that place where we know that we are a child of the Most High. And we were born in perfect love, and that love is right here in this room. I feel the love of God within me. I feel it moving as the activity of life, as the preciousness of the breath. And I feel it expanding and reaching and changing not only myself, but all the atmosphere in this room. I feel and recognize the fullness of God's love right here, right now. How wonderful it is to remember again that we can never limit that love in any way, that it is always flowing and moving and desiring to be expressed in our own experiences. And so as we focus our attention on the presence of love, as we recognize we have this ability to choose only love, that we are restored to our wholeness, that we come to understand what it means to be perfect and whole and complete, that there is something within us that is absolutely divine and never deviates. I feel the way this beautiful universe supports this life that is our life to live. I sense and witness the way we experience the beautiful blessings of life on this community, the way that we can flourish and thrive as a spiritual community, even as we have moved through this pandemic experience, a year long now. And that we can count our blessings even as we grieve, even as we share our sadness, even as we find ways to celebrate the beauty of the life that has passed and the life that is yet to come to this planet. So we welcome our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren, and we welcome the new growth of spring, and we recognize the connectedness of all of it. That we together with the birds and the plants and the lizards and the gorgeous animals of life, our pets, that we recognize we are one on this amazing web of life. And yes, it is magnificent. So I declare that on this day, we open ourselves to receive that good that we desire in our hearts in such a way that we realize and we accept that we are ready to receive, that is God's absolute sweet gift, that we receive this goodness, that we expand, that we continue in the upward bound spiral of life to stretch ourselves in terms of consciousness and to help make this world a better place. So feeling that truth and knowing it is the truth of my being and therefore for all of us. I know that there is healing happening right now. That there is this power in the spoken words of prayer that allows our bodies to reveal the wholeness and restore us to our sanity and restore us to our love and to heal our relationships. And we find that sweet space of forgiveness and acceptance, and we just start all over again. It's a new day. It's a new life. It's a new opportunity for us to live and be and have our being in the divine, in that love. So I say thank you, God. Thank you, life. How wonderful it is to be restored in this way. and to know that prayer works. I release these words into the law knowing it is already done, and together we say, and so it is. Amen.
Grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. Everywhere I look and every face I see is love reflected, shining back to me. I just give thanks for all these simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have.
All right, thank you, Bradford. I have to tell you, it's a little sore walking up here. I hiked Camelback Mountain yesterday, and my legs are very sore today. But I do want to say, Reverend Karen, that I am always open to receive my good, and I hope that you are always open to receive your good. Because I'm always looking for it, because I know there's a lot of good out there to be had. So, all right, so now
I've been
let's...
thinking about making Thai curry chicken. You want to come over for dinner?
Not until we get that all cleaned up. All right, so now's the time to recognize the abundance of our community as well as the abundance of each person's life right here, right now. So if we can say our joyous giving affirmation together. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
Please stand up for our final song. See, this is so you guys can dance a little more if you want to. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. And I ain't gonna worry about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. So put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. Put your hands up if you're ready to have some fun. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. One more time. Oh, it feels so good to be alive.
All right, and about repeat after me? I am a child of the living God. And I surrender. I open myself to receive my good. And I will live my one life. Amen. And so it is. Have a blessed week. Remember, love often. Pray much. Or pray much, love often. I always forget what I try to do. Love you guys. Thanks for being here, everybody.